I got invited to my father's funeral, but he was still alive. So let me start from the beginning, because yeah, it sounds insane when I just drop it like that. A week ago, I was sitting in my apartment after work, eating cold takeout, when I got this cream-colored envelope in the mail. It looked fancy, like a wedding invitation. I opened it and almost dropped my fork when I read the words, "You are invited to the funeral service of Mr. Daniel Price." That's my dad. Now, my dad wasn't sick. At least not that I knew of. We hadn't spoken in years, but I still saw him pop up on Facebook occasionally posting about his garden or arguing with random people about politics. Alive and kicking, yet here I was holding a funeral invitation with his name on it. I called my sister right away. "Emily, did you get this?" I asked, holding the paper like it might burn me. There was a pause on the other end. "Yeah, I thought it was a joke. But it's real. He wants us there." "What do you mean it's real?" "He's alive. That's the point. He's staging it." That word, staging, felt heavy in my chest. Why the hell would he stage his own funeral? Emily sighed. "So he can see who cares enough to show up, apparently." His words, not mine. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. So what, he just wants us to perform grief while he watches. Basically, and Mom's going along with it. I felt my blood pressure spike. Mom and Dad divorced years ago, but she always found a way to get tangled back into his mess. "Of course she is," I muttered. Fast forward to Saturday. I pulled up to the old church in my hometown, the same one where Dad used to drag us every Sunday like it was mandatory military service. Emily was already there, leaning against her car, arms crossed. "You actually came," she said as I got out. "You too," I shot back. We walked inside, and let me tell you, it was surreal. Black drapes, candles, a giant framed photo of my dad in his 40s when he still had hair. People were whispering like someone had really died. Cousins I hadn't seen in years, old neighbors, even his poker buddies were sitting in the pews. I muttered to Emily, "This is insane." Then I saw him, sitting right in the front row. Alive, wearing a dark suit and sunglasses like he was some kind of mafia boss. When people noticed he was there, some gasped, some clapped awkwardly. He stood up, spread his arms wide, and said, "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my life." I nearly walked out right then, but Emily grabbed my arm. "Don't," she whispered. "Not yet." The service started. A local pastor who apparently owed Dad a favor got up and started reading off generic stuff about life, death, legacy. Then, one by one, people were invited to go up and share memories. I leaned over to Emily. "This is like an open mic night for narcissists." She snorted, covering her mouth to hide a laugh. Our cousin Mark went up first. "I just want to say, Uncle Dan has always been there for me, even when no one else was. He taught me how to drive, how to fix a tire, and I'll always respect him for that." Dad nodded solemnly, like a king being praised. I whispered, "Bet he slipped Mark $20 before this." Emily elbowed me, but she was smiling. Then Mom went up. She actually cried, talking about how Dad was misunderstood, how deep down he always cared. I almost gagged. This was the same woman who once called him a tyrant in khakis. Finally, someone said my name. "Would you like to share?" I shook my head quickly. "Nope." But Dad turned around in his seat, sunglasses lowered, and said, "Son, I'd really like to hear from you." The room went quiet, all eyes on me. My heart pounded, but I stood up. I walked slowly to the front, looked out at the sea of faces, then looked at him. "You want me to say something?" I asked. "Yes," he said, smug grin on his face. "Fine," I said. My voice shook at first, but then it got stronger. "You're not dead. You're sitting right here. This whole thing is a joke. A stunt. And you didn't do this to feel loved. You did this to see who still obeys you." Gasps. A couple people whispered. Dad's smile faltered. "That's not true. I just wanted to know who. Who still plays by your rules." I cut him off. "Who still bends to your drama. That's all this is. You're not afraid of death. You're afraid of being ignored." Emily's eyes widened. Mom looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Dad stood up, his voice booming. "Watch your tone. I am still your father." Exactly, I said, and you're proving right now why I left. You don't want family. You want power. The silence that followed was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. Finally, I turned and walked down the aisle. Emily followed. Behind me I heard my dad shouting my name, demanding I sit back down. Some people clapped as we left, others looked horrified. Outside, Emily lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Holy shit, she said. I thought you were gonna explode in there. I almost did, I said. Do you regret it? I looked at her, then at the church doors. No, because that wasn't a funeral. It was a circus, and I'm done being part of his show. I drove home after that, my phone buzzing with missed calls and angry texts from relatives. Some called me disrespectful, some quietly admitted I was right. But none of it mattered. Because sitting there, watching my dad stage his own funeral just to feed his ego, I finally understood something. He wasn't looking for love. He never was. He just wanted to be the center of attention, even in death. And I wasn't going to give him that anymore.